It was October 6th in the year 1683 that the first Mennonites arrived in America. Encouraged by William Penn's offer of 5,000 acres of land in the colony of Pennsylvania and the freedom to practice their religion, the first Mennonites arrived in America aboard the Concord. These Mennonites were among the first Germans to settle in the American colonies. The Mennonites, members of a Christian sect founded by Menno Simmons in the 16th century, were widely persecuted in Europe. Seeking religious freedom, Mennonite Francis Daniel Pastorius led a group from Krefeld, Germany to Pennsylvania in 1683 and founded Germantown, the pioneer German settlement in America and now part of the city of Philadelphia. Numerous other German groups followed, and by the American Revolution, there were 100,000 Germans in William Penn's former colony, more than a third of Pennsylvania's total population at the time. It was October 6th in the year 1961 that President Kennedy urges Americans to build bomb shelters. Our 35th President, John F. Kennedy, speaking on civil defense, advises American families to build bomb shelters to protect them from atomic fallout in the event of a nuclear exchange with the Soviet Union. Kennedy also assured the public that the U.S. civil defense program would soon begin providing such protection for every American. Only 1 year later, true to Kennedy's fears, the world hovered on the brink of full-scale nuclear war when the Cuban Missile Crisis erupted over the United Soviet Socialist Republic's placement of nuclear missiles in Cuba. During the tense 13-day crisis, some Americans prepared for nuclear war by buying up canned goods and completing last-minute work on their backyard bomb shelters. It was October 6th in 1973 that the Yom Kippur War brings the United States and the United Soviet Socialist Republic to the brink of conflict. The surprise attack by Egyptian and Syrian forces on Israel in October 1973 throws the Middle East into turmoil and threatens to bring the United States and the Soviet Union into direct conflict for the first time since the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. Though actual combat did not break out between the two nations, the events surrounding the Yom Kippur War seriously damaged U.S.-Soviet relations. and all but destroyed President Richard Nixon's much publicized policy of détente. Richard Nixon was our nation's 37th president. Initially, it appeared that Egypt and Syria would emerge victorious from the conflict. Armed with up-to-date Soviet weaponry, the two nations hoped to avenge their humiliating defeat in the Six-Day War of 1967. Israel, caught off guard, initially reeled under the two-front attack. But Israeli counterattacks turned the tide, aided by massive amounts of U.S. military assistance, as well as disorganization among the Syrian and Egyptian forces. The Syrians were driven back, with Israeli troops seizing the strategically important Golan Heights. Egyptian forces fared even worse, retreating back through the Sinai Desert. Thousands of their troops were surrounded and cut off by the Israeli army. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, together with his Soviet counterparts, eventually arranged a shaky ceasefire. When it became clear that Israel would not give up its siege of the Egyptian troops, low on food and medicine by this time, the Soviets threatened to take unilateral action to rescue them. Tempers flared both in Washington and Moscow. U.S. military forces went to Stage 3 alert. Just to give you an idea of what that is, Stage 5 is the launch of nuclear attacks. The Soviets backed down on their threat, but the damage to relations between the two nations was serious and long-lasting. Kissinger worked furiously to bring about a peace settlement between Israel, Syria, and Egypt. In what came to be known as shuttle diplomacy, the Secretary of State flew from nation to nation, hammering out details of the peace accord. Eventually, Israeli troops withdrew from some of their positions in both the Sinai and Syrian territory, while Egypt promised to forgo the use of force in its dealings with Israel. Syria grudgingly accepted the peace plan, but remained adamantly opposed to the existence of the Israeli state. Historic information divulged and documented on this audio file can be verified on history.